Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spinner Rack, and today I'm doing a video on the Youngblood relaunch. Now, to give you some history, Youngblood was one of the first titles from the Image Comics imprint that was published from Malibu Comics. It was one of the most successful independent comics at the time. It was, with that sort of demand, the supply was gone. But the reason why the supply was gone was because Rob had become so famous. Now, that didn't stop him from publishing a lot of books, but at the same time, it just takes you, being that successful, it takes you from the drawing board. Now, that sort of success hadn't taken certain creators off of the drawing board, but with the people at the time, this would basically take you away to doing Hollywood deals, doing all this stuff. But at the same time, there was a bunch of comics from Extreme that were going on at the same time. And these are a couple of them, right? There's from Image, Youngblood the Yearbook, Youngblood Strike File. This was with a Rob shot, but the interiors are done by one of my favorite artists, Jason Pearson. You can see another title they were talking about doing, Bad Rock and Company. I'm not sure if that came out, but this was a mixture of a bunch of Image characters, right? Oh, don't want to show that yet. Right? So Rob did from issue 1 to 5 and then had a hiatus. Then he did, and the book wasn't even monthly, right? It wasn't even bi-monthly. Then he did 1 to 6, which I think was close to a monthly schedule, 6 to 10, but then there was a drop off and he stopped doing it again. But after that, there was some buzz. There was always a big buzz about the relaunch of Youngblood, right? So it wasn't sort of out of the mind of the fans. It was also Team Youngblood that had a couple artists that, made names for themselves. I think Roger Cruz went on to do other things. But there was a big name that was going to join it. Excuse the picture. But Jim Shooter was going to join and write Youngblood with Rob Liefeld, right? Now, excuse the caricature. If you guys want me to go through this comics journal, I will. But I thought this was going to work well. I thought this was going to put right the ship for Youngblood, where it would get Rob with someone who, would probably demand the monthly schedule, right? And he would be someone like the way Chris Claremont worked with the Image guys, where Byrne worked for 2 seconds with the Image guys, that would kind of fill up the panel with dialogue to kind of take these pretty pictures and add sort of Marvel storytelling to it. Sort of what Stan Lee did when you couldn't understand some of the drawings, right? So we have one person. So he had, fame from Valiant. There was still some, went too far. Not that yet. But that's what we're going to be talking about soon. And soon after, there was some buzz around Marvels. So Rob Liefeld lined up Kurt Busiek to do Youngblood Genesis, right? That didn't happen. 2, quality writers. What happened? Tell us what happened. Observations. Maybe there's one of those ones that he talked about, right? But that being said, that didn't stop Image Extreme Studios. Extreme Studios had Supreme, right? Now, this isn't the classic look of Supreme, but this is Alex Ross pitch hitting to try to get some buzz back so they could get Supreme back on the shelves, right? But that didn't happen until years later, where I think Eric Larson did the last Alan Moore story, and then he did some stories of his own. But soon after this part where Supreme was coming out, Rob was moving on to do his own company, Maximum Press. This is one of the characters, Cybrid. It's a pretty cool character. This artist here, Sam Liu, he was pretty good. I wish he, when you looked at the Image comics, there was a lot of these guys where you look and you'd be like, that guy should be the next guy, but then they would be gone, right? So it's not about this. I'm not sure there'd be that many viewers to see that. But with the buzz of having Alan Moore, and Alan Moore had already done books for Rob, which I think Bad Rock, Violator. This was the big thing. He made a company called Awesome with, I think, an investor in Jeph Loeb, and they did a bunch of comics, leaving Image. They didn't do Maximum Press. They did Awesome Entertainment, and they had like Fighting American. You can see here that was after a little bit of legal snafu. They worked out a deal with Joe Simon. They got Alan Moore. A lot of stuff is happening here, right? So they do Judgment Day 3-part saga with Sentinel going through his own OJ-like story, right? If you know Youngblood, you know who Sentinel is, right? So they also had a relaunch of Youngblood, and this one came out with Alan Moore and Steve Skroce. And then if you remember Steve Skroce, I showed this video on the Book of the Matrix. I can just quickly show you some of the art from the Matrix. He did some of the storytelling, some of the storyboards. They did a comic book storyboard to sell the movie, to show the kind of action they wanted, right? And I'm going backwards, but you can kind of see this guy is a real talent, right? If you didn't know him before this. So, if you're a fan of his art, he'd already done Ecto Kid with the Wachowski brothers, now watch Wachowski sisters. He'd already done X-Men, Cable, I think. Then the other stuff that comes afterwards, but you can see his star was on the rise. Now he does this art. It is very cluttered, but it's very cool, right? So let's go through these 2 issues. That was my whole intro was about. And this is going harking to the covers of the current day, right? Where you have these characters where you don't tell the story in the cover, just the art itself sells the book, right? So if you look at this book, here. So you have, this is Jeph. Jeph is one of the original Youngblood characters, and everything else was new. Everything else was more going to be like the Teen Titans. Not really close to the new Teen Titans, but sort of an updated original Teen Titans, right? So you have Suprema, would be like the junior version of Supreme, or the Supergirl. You have Doc Rocket, who would be like Johnny Quick. I'll get more to that when we look at the art. We have this is Doc Quick, Doc Rocket, Johnny Panic, who was an illusionist. So there's a Brit on the team, and this has all of the, like all of the Brits or the humor. And you have Twilight, who's like you think it was Vogue, but it's not. This is Twilight. This is like the Robin, Batgirl, Carrie Kelly type character, right? So let's get into this book, right? Put this down. And as I showed, the art that was in the Matrix book is just as good in this book. Now, this is more sort of like, basically like, I guess we would say genre comics. This is just Alan Moore doing his, basically if he would do a monthly book, right? But if you read the dialogue, there's always a ton of bits in the dialogue of Alan Moore's work. So if you want to get some of his humor, there's always sort of his Mad Magazine type of things in here. Besides, there's always his detail at the same time. So, Mad Magazine is not an insult to his work, because he said that he'd look at magazine and say, what if it was done seriously? That's kind of his approach to everything, right? So we had this guy who was in this pool, and at the same time when he comes out, he wakes up, he's not supposed to, but he's out and he kills that person there. And then he's able to possess someone, and he's moving body to body, but he's killing the host, the former host, before they wake up. And these people see it and know that things are in trouble, right? And since no one knows what's happening, they're able to continue to do this, and it's a cool way to start a book. This person has already taken over 2 people and killed the original hosts, right? And then we go to Youngblood occupations. And we're introduced to Twilight, who's really like Domino, but this is sort of like the Batgirl you know, Carrie Kelly, that sort of thing, right? So here, I mentioned this in the video before this. Do I have it over here? I guess I do. And I wasn't prepared. Let me get to it when I get to Doc Rocket, right? So, you know, Jeph is a classic hero here, and see you have Johnny Panic, who's kind of does the humorous stuff in the story. He's the comic relief. And then you see the story continues as Twilight comes to help out. See this policeman acting up, but she's not ready to take him down. And then Johnny Panic sees what happens, and he notices and he figures it out, but he's still doing his humor. And right here, we have Doc Rocket. She's a throwback. I don't know if I have this artwork, but hopefully it's in this book. We have by Morton Meskin, who I keep bringing up. He was one of the first to do to show speed using multiple figures of the same person, right? So it's kind of throwback to that. That's when you look and see that, think of that guy, because he's not only did high contrast art, he did this cool thing. So you have her running, her changing her clothes, walking on water, doing all those things to get to where Twilight is, because Twilight is about to kill. Now here's the story. See, here's a storytelling moment. I was about to skip by this, right? So they tell Doc Rocket what's going on. She sees it. She's about to. We've already had the set. She's going to kill this person. So this is stuff that you see in the X-Men movies with Quicksilver. Alan Moore did it earlier with Doc Rocket, and you see Doc Rocket get in there and save the guy just in time, right? So now the rest of the team has to go out, and then of course the black guy is doing the black guy sort of thing, complaining about being the chauffeur, and they go out, but we don't know I don't think I've seen him at this point. It's another new character, excuse me for that. And then the person who's possessed Twilight. What's the name? See Twilight. What's the name? Doc Rocket is so fast, can't even touch this character. And this is what they call the occupation, because she's whatever it is possessing these people, right? And use the smoke, and that works out for Doc Rocket. She can't stop it, but Suprema doesn't know what's going on, right? And then of course, Suprema's been taken over. Hasn't killed Twilight yet, but we know everyone's in trouble now. So they get out there. We see they know that they're in big trouble now, right? So they got Big Brother. This is our first reveal of a new character who's kind of the Iron Man of sorts, or the Robot Man with a human body in there, right? So these guys are outside of Big Brother. They don't stand a chance, but it's just cool stuff. They know how bad things are. And Suprema comes. Ultimately, she should have been able to kill them, but, you know, it adds for maximum effect. And then Big Brother goes in and see some of her, you Star Trek sounding mother. Well, I don't know. Then we get this cool shot, right? So they don't know what else to do, how to stop this occupant. And then it might break them down. And of course, Supreme is breaking the character down. But who comes? Supreme. Supreme comes and saves the day. Jeph is like, no, we don't want you infected. The occupant says, oh, you're more powerful than my current host. Goes in. possesses Supreme, and then Shaft pulls out a gun, and we find out it wasn't Supreme. It was actually Johnny Panic, right? So they stopped the host, and they put her into the gorilla that's or primate, and they put the hand on Johnny's hand to move that over, and everyone starts to wake up. And this is the new Youngblood's first adventure, right? So we got through that. You see, they had multiple covers for this issue, and they talked about the first appearances of these characters. I think with what's it, Gen 13 giving you multiple covers. Multiple covers are coming back. Now you get to see what was that awesome. Rejects by Rob Liefeld. Fighting American, as I said. Scarlet Crutch, I don't know if I saw. Kaboom, I saw. Jeph Masuda, he did the Batman series, the animated one, at least from his sort of character designs. And Coven by Ian Churchill, who's done the comic book I like. I think it's what was this guy character? It's the Image Marine Man. He did some really nice art, but he went back to his normal style for that. So while we're here, let's see, not that long. I'm under half hour, so we can do Youngblood 2, right? And they said the blurb was Bad Blood, right? So this person is telling the story of all these characters that we're gonna replace Youngblood, right? So this is gonna be your classic attack the heroes and attack them, but this is to attack them to replace them, right? So yes, Suprema and Twilight, and they're doing like the world's finest team, and you see them stopping these villains, and a lot of cool shots here. It's very busy, very dense stuff, right? But they run into Satana and the Lounge Lizard. There's a lot of, it's a lot of this sort of stuff in here. Like Twilight, no, it's the Lounge Lizard. And the magic from Supreme, so Satana's thing captures Suprema, taking away her power, right? And the Lounge Lizard, with the corniest name ever, just slams her around, right? So that's more of like a Spider-Man type villain. But here we go. The multiple figures, right? We got Doc Rocket, we got Johnny Panic, right? So it's always these cool sort of thing where they're doing a million things at once, right? But he's kind of the, kind of the irreverent sort of guy. And they keep showing them try to do these things and showing the speed. So while this is up in the air and it's starting to come down, this other person's come with the speed. And that speed shatters while his mouth is still open and the gum is still about to come there. Doc Rocket is doing everything she can to stop this, stop the glass from hitting Johnny Panic, right? So she takes the glass and throws it at this new person. And this new villain is Speedwell. And he, of course, was around all these weird chemicals because of being a commune and with these hippie commune. So he has a little speed, but he also has a sister who's named Poppy, who's able to do these pheromones. And she's also an illusion. So all that happened in between there. So this is the boom for this series, where it's not changing the comic world like the Watchmen. It's like pulls out the stick of gum, tosses it up in the air. There's this glass breaking speed fight that take the glass, throw the glass back at this guy, meet these characters, they talk. His sister's sitting there, and finally the gum goes into his mouth. So there's some really fun stuff, and I don't know if Alan Moore was laying this out, because I know in some of his other series he was laying them out, and hopefully I can get to those too. Right? So he realizes that Doc Rocket is gone and she's not, but then at the same time, there's someone acting as if she's her, right? But that's Poppy, using her sort of pheromones and able to talk to him, and they're going to replace Youngblood. right? So if they're replacing it, there's a hook to the story, right? So here's Poppy, there's Speedwell, right? And they're gonna replace Youngblood. So we got Jeph and Big Brother. What another gag. It's another Alan Moore gag in here. If I don't have to spell this out, Big Brother and the black guy is Big Brother and Jeph, the white Jeph. All right, so we're going to move on, right? Richard Roundtree is Jeph. Look it up. You should already know this, right? Well, they're going to run into Sentinel. And this ties into everything that was in Judgment Day. That Sentinel did all these things to set up Jeph as the leader. But at the same time, he's able to show his stuff, and he's fighting against Big Brother all at the same time. But he didn't come alone. He brought a sort of a DC type villain, Automo, or Atomo. I guess it's Atomo. I said that wrong. Sorry, guys. Let's keep moving, right? So this character's able to do all this stuff. And basically, it breaks apart. Man, that's terrible, right? So he decided to throw his bombs into this creature, Atomo, and then Atomo was able to take that and blow it right back into Big Brother. And Big Brother basically falls apart, right? And then a big explosion. We're like, oh man. Right? So they captured him, classic, the heroes being captured, right? And the next thing you know, he's going to replace them with this new evil Youngblood team, right? But someone comes to save him. And this way we get to the classic Alan Moore humor in the stories. And they get confronted by the Waxman, who's like Sandman, the classic Sandman from DC. And what's the name? Jeph thinks it's a hologram, but it's not. And then while the Waxman is taking out the lounge lizard, that leaves them time to break out. They free Suprema, and then Big Brother is back. Then at the same time, Satanic is knocked well across. And it's always good to show scale. You can't beat Kirby in power, but you can do scale. That kind of evens up the thing. And then, of course, Big Brother's back and fighting. And then we got another Mort Meskin kind of dance here. And Doc Rocket gets some payback against Speedwell. And this is where I can't really understand what's going on here in the pages. It just looks cool. They get their escape. Somehow they're escaping. I don't know what's happening here. Even this one's kind of cluttered. But you don't care. It's just cool. It's just some of the stuff, you know, it's just sacrificing storytelling for cool shots, right? And here's the Mud. Was it the guy, the Waxman? Has Lounge Lizard, right? And he's talking. That's how he got captured. And said Twilight is rough now, right? And tells to Jack that you couldn't have destroyed them. So this, even though it's another Brit character, this is going to be, I don't know who it was going to be like the Joker going against the Teen Titans, right? So here's some words from Rob talking about it. We know now that this is not happening. We had, you see, if you read here, it says Comic Menace from Jada Pinkett Smith and Dan Fraga, right? And it's a lot of buzz now with Jada Pinkett Smith. But since that's said, we can go to the other Smith, Will Smith, the Mark. Thought I wouldn't have a surprise for you? The Mark, something else that didn't happen. But I'm pretty sure there was some money that was handed out to Rob Liefeld. So when you're the hottest talent, you can get some of the biggest names in the room. And you can see Rob with his Awesome Entertainment was working with Jeph Loeb, Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith. The names are there. So there was a buzz around this, but ultimately it stopped. Oh, before I go, oh, sweat, I screwed up. Issue 3, I don't think came out, but look at what they were selling us here, right? We get to see Supreme. I'm not sure to remember the Batman version, but this would be like the Justice League versus these villains. So that would introduce that villain who was like the Joker in the Supreme universe, right? So it was just like, I think Steve Skroce said how happy we was working with Alan Moore. This was, one of his greatest experiences as a penciler. So there was a lot of buzz, a lot of good stuff, just some fun comic books, nothing life-shattering. I think if you look at his Wildcats, there's a lot more weirder ideas in there. I don't think it holds up as well anymore. And I think he kind of shifted to the gritty Wildcats team. But this is just your fun sort of comic book. But you can see, given enough time, Alan Moore's going to shift to being a little more reverent and get some of his gags in there. So there I did it. I tried this before. It didn't work out. I did Youngblood Relaunch and Awesome Entertainment. It looked like it was going to be big and a lot of fun, but the comic industry was struggling at that time. So a lot of companies went down. So there's nothing to say, about Rob on this one. It's a good effort to start. It just didn't last. Spinner Rack out.